If you looked on the page, it has my bio. For my bio, you can see I'm just a regular person. I work in stop motion animation as a puppet builder. So it's very unrelated to the skeptic and the science community. But I've always been interested in science. I read a lot of science fiction as a teenager and a preteen. And I refused to be confirmed Catholic, even though my mom never stopped trying. But I wasn't really exposed to skepticism until I went to college, and I had a chance to read magazines like Skeptical Horror. And when I was in college, it was this small size. That's why I had to find this picture. And I would take this magazine, and I'd actually put it in a more generic magazine, like a Time magazine, when I'd read it in the library, so people wouldn't see it.
Confession time.
And I've been to several of the Monterey County SkeptiCamp meetups, and I really enjoyed them. We don't currently have a normal one that happens in LA. There's been like 2 that's happened, but they were like years apart and not considered the same group. But I really enjoyed the experience. Here's one from the previous one. You might recognize the previous speaker. And I was planning to come to this one as well, and that's when Susan asked me to give a talk about something. And I hadn't really done anything that I'd researched enough that I thought I could really give a good talk on it. But I had come across an interesting new conspiracy theory, at least to me, that I wanted to introduce to people in case you come across it in the future. Because it is just so odd. And I thought it was going to be a bit funny, but it got kind of dark. But I wanted to, we're all familiar with various conspiracy theories from 9/11, vaccines, chemtrails, and the theories of flat earth. But you can see the earth on there. This latter one, the flat earth, is what led me to this talk. In June 2018, I joined the IIG, the Independent Investigations Group, soon to be the Center for Inquiry Investigations Group at the Salton Sea in Southern California. They had set up a test with a bunch of flat earth proponents to demonstrate over 2 days that if these tests were successful, it would prove that the earth was indeed not flat. And here's a few pictures. The woman on the left, she's from Nat Geo. There was a Nat Geo film crew that was there. And they have different laser pointers to try and like see, like this looks flat. So the flat earth is like, see, it's flat. So the earth is flat. And there's actually more flat earthers there than skeptics. So that was very interesting. But anyone who has had long discussions or dealings with the various conspiracy believers know how it will end up. No matter what test happens, it's already determined what their beliefs are going to be. But this was filmed. It was just recently showed about last month on Nat Geo TV. I don't have access to it, so I haven't seen it yet. But if you search for this video online, most of the results that you get are YouTubes from some of the flat earth people that were there that tried to show that all these tests proved that the earth was flat. I don't know, I just said that one there too. While there, I was able to hear, like nationalized. While there, I was able to hear different flat earth supporters discussing the test amongst themselves. And I realized they were not really only believers in one large, very complex conspiracy. I heard them talk of chemtrails, the moon landing, fluoride, vaccines, aliens, works. Previously, I viewed videos on flathead believers and people that were trying to educate why they were wrong on YouTube. So when I got back from this trip, I went and rewatched them. On YouTube, it has a feature, when you watch something that it thinks you're interested in, because you keep searching for it, it will suggest similar videos in the future. And This hasn't worked out in my favor when I fall asleep while YouTube is on. And it keeps playing videos, and it keeps suggesting more unusual ones. But because of that, it introduced me to a conspiracy theory I had heard of before. Namely, that Hollywood, royalty, all the powerful families of the world are mostly transgender. This is very interesting to me. Now, this is not to be confused with actual transgender people who have severe gender dysphoria, where they have a conflict between their gender identity and their sex, and that can be alleviated with things like hormones and surgery. No, this conspiracy deals with people we all assume are the sex gender they present, but some group intentionally forced them to transition their appearance in infancy to the opposite biological sex for some nefarious reason, to defect the lives of the rest of humanity somehow. The reason given for this varies amongst the proponents. Almost all of them, though, speak of Satanism, Freemasonry, trying to get away from God, things like that. Oh, I forgot that one. I'll just stick that in because I like that one. I forgot about it. I tried to pay attention while viewing these videos for the reason why such a massive conspiracy would be done at all. Most don't mention or they skirt around it. They just assume that we all understand why it's being done. They'll bring up things like population control, because you can't reproduce if everyone's transgender. And it's related just to going against God's plan. But even if the YouTuber doesn't forthrightly state the reason, they know it is bad. They know most people are not aware of it. And they feel compelled to put themselves in danger to educate us all. The larger YouTube channels that deal with this, they can have over 100,000 subscribers. Most of them are smaller. The one I'm going to talk about a little bit today only has about 4,600 subscribers. The large ones, since they're so big, they'll have commenters saying, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is a lie, you don't know what you're talking about, you're crazy. But the smaller ones, all the commenters, I can't tell if they're fake, like they're trolling, but they all seem to agree with the person and they thank them for risking their lives to make these videos. So, they also joke to never read comments on YouTube. They can be insulting, trolling, or useless, but especially on controversial subjects, I'm glad that they are there. You have to weed through all the pointless ones and the trolly ones. But I look to see why people disagree or agree with a given topic, their reasoning, and I may have come across positions I didn't even know existed. That being said, the majority of the comments that I came across on these videos just agree with the YouTuber, they thank the YouTuber, and I didn't actually learn much from them, unfortunately. But I was still curious as to why this appeared. Let's see. Hatred or fear, sometimes fueled by religion of divergent sexual or gender orientations, is not new and unexpected. You will find videos on that with no problem. But this takes it to a new level. People are not simply lost God or lost their way, but they have been for a long time, according to these conspiracy theories, in an effort by powerful elites to supplant the design of God in the mind of the people. In general conspiracies, the fact that people are pattern seeking and want to make sense of what they are seeing in the world works to the advantage of the conspiracy. But just because something is called a conspiracy does not mean that it's crazy or fake. Conspiracy is simply, by the definition, a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. It is not hard to think of genuine conspiracies. The assassination of President Abraham Lincoln in 1865 was a conspiracy, as was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand of Austria in Sarajevo in 1914. Which, of course, as we know, eventually led to World War I. Small groups of people planned these, and their efforts were successful and had lasting impacts on us to this day. And that was because they were only found out after the fact. The small size of the conspiracy was a major factor in them succeeding. The larger the group, the more likely the plans are to be leaked intentionally or accidentally. Incidentally, while thinking about like major tobacco corporations not being in favor of medical information detrimental to their profit margins as another form of conspiracy, I found pages dedicated to exposing the conspiracy against big tobacco. There appears to be a conspiracy for everything. You can't really read it, but they're trying to show like all the medical stuff that's showing that tobacco could be bad for you when you smoked it is all hogwash. In the age of the internet, it's easy with fast and easy access to seemingly unlimited amounts of data and to communicate with others around the world any time of the day. Conspiracies thrive. They are easily accessed, spread, and people validate each other's conspiracy ideas. I thought about this because the internet also allows people to find out hidden information, like what really goes on in Scientology or various religions. Scientology was never as massive as they claimed to be, but they could control all the information about them. Whatever claim they made, who's going to research it? Their spin started to unravel really after the internet allowed people to exchange information with images and links to videos on bulletin boards and blogs and the Usenet. Alt-religion Scientology, which was started in 1991, was one of the most active religious Usenet groups, and the Church of Scientology tried to shut it down with spam for years. They weren't successful. It's kind of full of spam now, but it's because it's been replaced by blogs and forums. Like this is zenu.net, it's also called Operation Planet. They started in the 90s, and they have been a resource for people leaving Scientology since like 95 or 96. And another version is the FLDS, which is the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Because they're very isolated and insulated, but the internet has allowed people that were former members that were kicked out to communicate and tell everybody else their stories. People that formerly thought they were alone in their lack of belief can now meet others online and discuss their thoughts, usually without the feeling of danger. So validating one's ability to question religion versus validating one's belief in a secret cabal that controls the world. These are both aspects of open data. It's kind of a price we have to pay. And some conspiracy theories seem more plausible, like they would involve several people to know about it, but not an unlimited amount, like the JFK assassination. We know he was assassinated, at least one person planned it, and one known person involved was killed before trial. So naturally that leads to questions. But it still seems, a smaller conspiracy that can be contained. But conspiracies like this one that would have to involve an immense unknown amount of people colluding seem too far-fetched for rational people to even believe. In the flat Earth realm, followers have to believe all the pilots are in on it, the aircraft manufacturers are in on it, the people that make the windows for the aircrafts are in it because they're made convex so the Earth appears round when you're not.
Oh, that's how they do it.
Everyone at JPL, everyone at NASA, and similar organizations around the world also would have to be in on it. The same thing with 9/11 conspiracies, moon landings. So too with this transgender conspiracy. Every doctor who gave hormones, performed surgery, doctors that helped fake pregnancies, any assistants that took care of the children, they would all have to maintain the secret as well. In addition to the why, there is the how. Estrogen, which is, traditionally female hormone, itself was not discovered until 1929. And early commercial applications did follow a few years later. Early versions were derived from the human placenta and then later from mare's milk. Mare's urine. And it wasn't approved until for the FDA until 1942, and the first hormonal birth control was not until 1960. And keep in mind, scientists and women who use these manufactured hormones were learning along the way about any medical issues related to taking them. For example, estrogen can increase a woman's chance of endometrial cancer, which is the lining of the uterus at this time. While hormone replacement therapy, which women did not get access to this time, was for reducing menstrual cramps and issues with menopause. How did the ability to change the appearance of children and adults even happen? Some of these theorists, they will say that this was discovered earlier than we know about and was just hidden knowledge. So that's one of the reasons. And surgical methods to change appearance to resemble the opposite sex appeared a bit earlier. In 1917, the first female to male trans man had a hysterectomy and gonadectomy. And Lily Elba, who was the subject of the film The Danish Girl, became the first recipient of the then termed male to female sex reassignment surgery. In 1930, she died after the fourth surgery when they tried to implant a uterus. But she had 3 surgeries prior to that. But again, this was in the early 1930s. So that's kind of the beginning when this could have happened. I do not think that this issue is important to the people that are promoting this conspiracy. It was either known or hidden earlier, or they don't discuss ones that happened prior to the early 20th century. And I watched several channels going into this, but I'm going to show images mainly from one that seems pretty typical of the genre. But here are some stills from some other channels. Just want to show you some quick pictures of some of the things that we'll hear in their videos. Like they'll claim that Natalie Dormer obviously is male masquerading as a female because of the square jaw and deep set eyes. Paris Hilton.
He looks good.
Angelina Jolie.
Wow.
I like this one. Vince Vaughn, it says, there are no male traits here.
Poor guy.
The YouTuber I'm just going to mention today, she goes by the name Michelle XXXX for female. Oh, I forgot this one. They're saying the royal family. I found several videos claiming that most of the royal family are transgender.
So he's female and she's
yeah,
male?
Obviously. So this is the one channel I was going to really talk about. The problem with this is that these aren't all her videos. When I first started researching her, she had a much more, a larger video collection. But at some point she felt that they were after her and she deleted all.
I may be re-uploading some of them, or I might just start from scratch and do some more. So I believe I'm out of danger. There's no gun to my head or anything like that. I'm feeling much, much better. I'm here in Denver. It is so gorgeous. Unfortunately, many of the beautiful cities around the world are still ran by the elites who tell us lies about where we are in the universe, the shape of the planet, possibly. You know, the fake wars. Some wars are real, some are fake. We've just got all these lies and deception. And of course, you know, my primary is the transpocalypse.
So she said the transpocalypse, by the way. So this is another thing from her channel. Johnny Depp is a woman, as you can all tell. So there's more to that beginning video, but it gave you kind of the feeling she's got this complex where she thinks they're out to get her. What's interesting about her channel is that she concentrates on Hollywood celebrities, and she had a lot of videos that started similar to this, where she would take a picture, she'd video her inside a hotel or inside of like a exclusive penthouse or something to show that she has access to these Hollywood elites. She maintains she performs some unspecified service, like she was talking about in her video, for wealthy Hollywood people. And I can't figure it out what it is. I assume it's something like massage or chiropractic. But it could just be just a totally made-up story that she uses to make herself seem legitimate to the viewers that they're watching the videos. As an aside, in one video, she addresses her vocal fry, and she says it's her real voice, but that she's hypothyroid. But she will not take pharmaceuticals to correct it because she won't put that garbage in her body. And I want to add, I have hypothyroidism, as I don't have a thyroid gland at all. And if you have hypothyroidism, you have to take some form of hormone replacement. Herbs and diet are not going to do anything for you. You kind of need your thyroid hormones. As Michelle goes on describing to tell a person that is in fact male, I start thinking some of the things she mentions are interesting. Like she'll mention that, like, if someone has large ears, and I have large ears, large feet. I've got very large feet, deep set eyes. That these are all male traits, and that's one of the things that she picks up when she's examining people. So that's kind of disturbing to me. But she also mentions that having a ring finger longer than your forefinger is also a male trait that she'll present, and I have that as well. It's really odd, but no gynecologist I've ever visited has ever mentioned this to me. One of her major things that she did several videos on Bewitched. This is, a very good show from the 60s to early 70s. I grew up on watching the reruns, and I love the show. Amazingly enough, every single actor on the show, including both Dix, Sargent and York, and she enjoys the irony of their names. And the child actors playing Tabitha and Adam, every single one were transgender. Everybody on the show was transgender. And the show has a side angle of normalizing witchcraft, so that leads into the whole thing. It's part of the devil. And this YouTuber, Michelle, she goes back and forth being nice. She'll say she's not against transgender people. She thinks they should live their lives, but then she'll, she doesn't want to get her page canceled. But then she'll be aggressive and mean to people like Agnes Moorehead, who played Endora in the show. A lot of these YouTubers, whenever they have older women actors, they seem to be very mean, and they say these are obviously men. You can tell that they're men. They seem to go after the older women actors the most. Here's a picture of Endora, and Agnes Moorehead as Endora, and I mean, she had a long and varied acting career before Bewitched, but that's what a lot of us know her for, mostly. But Agnes Moorehead was born in 1900, so if she had been raised to be transgender, as this person says, they would have had to have started before medical and surgical and hormonal where things were even an option for people. So I don't know how she does that in her mind, how that's even possible. Michelle X and these others, they all see hand symbols. So when they're watching these shows, they'll do a freeze frame if someone has this symbol, or they're pointing up. These are all like either satanic symbols or Freemasonry symbols. They're just trying to show everything that shows that this is a big cabal conspiracy meant to affect all of you. Most of the videos concentrate on male to female trans people, and looking at the women, and she constantly calls Endora he, him, a man, a male. It gets old after a while. But I just wanted to introduce this weird conspiracy theory that I have never heard of before. My takeaway from this brief look at this conspiracy theory is that it falls in line with similar conspiracy theories that center on a hidden, powerful cabal that tries to control humanity, whether they be lizard people, aliens, or Satanists. The believers feel the need to make sense of the world and also feel that they have some hidden special knowledge that helps them see reality, unlike the rest of the sheep on the planet. Just want to do this. I have not come across any YouTuber proposing this hypothesis of a transgender league who do not also believe in other conspiracy theories. In addition, they all seem to have a religious basis for their belief. And I have a feeling as more and more people come out as trans in our society, I expect the genre to grow as well. Okay, that's it.
Time for one question if somebody wants to use the mic at the stand. Come on up.
It has to be an easy question.
But let me see if it's turned on. Is it turned on?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. My name is Tom Lee, and my question is, do you think the people who promulgate these theories are really serious about it? I have a brother who's really into this stuff, and he's always kind of smiling when he's talking about these kind of things. So my question is, do these people really believe, or are they just sort of BSing this?
The ones, it's a good question. I haven't seen a tremendous amount. I've probably watched about 15 different channels, and most of them seem completely sincere in what they believe. Now, the commenters that commented, I think they can run the gamut for people just playing around with them, but they seem really, really sincere. It's the same thing when I talked to flat earthers at the Salton Sea. They were joking and being ha-ha, but they really believed what they said. When they wore like shirts that say NASA lies or the earth is flat, they really believe it.